Welcome back, week number 2 to our podcast. How's it going, Chilo?
Not bad, Rob. How you doing, man?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. It's take 2. We had technical errors again the second week running. You'd think I'd figure this stuff out by now, but one slight error with our graphics, but a little audio issue. So we're doing take number 2 of week number 2. So let's get to the Canucks headlines. So based on yesterday, there was only one new headline that we didn't have yesterday to talk about. So let's start off the top. JT Miller not getting to 100 points sucks. So it looks like he was on John Scott's podcast and talked about that there. What's your thoughts on him not hitting 100?
I mean, is 100 points a good mark? Yeah, it's a good mark. It would, it would be something that I guess you'd be sort of happy about. I mean, from what I know about JT, I don't think he really cares. 99 points or 100 points are still out of the playoffs. So he's not sitting there going, damn, one more point and I could have had 100, because guess what? You'd still be sitting at home in June. So, yeah, I don't think he's would overly care about it. But it would have been cool because it would have been his first time in his career that he broke 100. So yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Does it suck? I guess in a way, but overall, missing the playoffs sucks more.
Yeah. We'll give credit to Daniel Wagner here for this article, but the headline was a little misleading because I scanned the article. Actually doesn't say that, so I'm not sure how the headline got that there, because he actually says he doesn't care in the podcast, didn't care about the 100 points, even though they said, good article from Daniel mentioning that he played 24 minutes and 15 seconds and the Canucks attempted 22 shots while he was on the ice with them to get him the 100 points, but it just wasn't meant to be. So, but I agree with you. It didn't occur to me that he would care. I mean, it's super cool breaking 100, but I guess, he referenced that it's a cool number, 99. So everyone can check out the John Scott podcast with JT on there. So, but he also mentions that the Canucks are not close in the contract negotiations. So that's surprising, not surprising. It's taken a long time, but I think that we've talked about this before, where I think it's going to take to the trade deadline anyways. So,
and if you look, I mean, there's still, what do we say, $3 million over the cap.
Yes.
With 3 LTIs or 3 IRs.
Yeah.
Injury reserve and 1 or 2 long term.
Yeah. They're in tough. So they still have work to do, as we talked about in week 1 there. So
yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they're not close in the contract talk yet.
Yeah, totally. All right, so let's get to topic. We talked about the World Juniors with Lekkerimaki. The headline was scores in a 4-3 loss to Canada. But there was a great play that he was referenced again by Wagner on Pass It to Bullis on the Twitter feed there. We both watched the highlight. What were your thoughts on that highlight there?
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. To me, it showed the actual level of his hockey IQ, because if you actually break it down and watch it, the puck comes around. There's two players back behind the net, beside the net, and he takes a step towards them, and I'm speculating here, but immediately then cuts to the left side boards. So if he sees what I'm seeing, and if he's interpreting it the same way, you got 2 players in close proximity to each other. They're not going to be passing the puck to each other 2 feet apart, right? The player's facing along the board line. The middle's covered, so he's not firing it up the middle. So 90% of the time he's going along the boards. So Lekkerimaki goes straight to the boards, and it looks like a lazy play. It looks like he's just kind of like peeling off the check, but he's actually going to where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is. So I think it's a brilliant move. I think he intercepted the pass and popped one out to the bumper, who got a shot off, and I don't think they scored, but he got that shot off, which, that's what you need, right? So I'm excited about that, because that's some high level hockey IQ there, to be able to see that, interpret that, figure it out, and then within one stride make that decision and intercept that pass, right? So I think that's very exciting for us. I'm actually quite impressed.
Yeah. So besides his deadly shot, he's showing the signs of a good hockey IQ. Because I agree with you. Like it looks like it was a little bit of a mental mistake where he went the one way and then went to his left, but he called the play. Like he intercepted the pass, like no problem, and then popped it out there for a one timer shot. But that's exciting. That's good. I mean, we saw the shot with him at UBC with the prospects after the draft, and ripped a couple of really, really nice ones. And we talked about that in our first show, shooting from some unusual places. But that's really cool to see his anticipation and him showing his IQ for sure there. So I totally agree with you there. Next headline we got here is Truscott, Canucks prospect Truscott to play for Team USA, and obviously the World Juniors are underway now. There was a new headline today that he's creating some chances. I don't think anything of much has happened at this point. But what do you know about Truscott at this point?
Honestly, I don't know much about him. I haven't been following him. But this is going to be some good experience for him. Playing in the World Juniors, it's nothing to get overly excited about because again, these aren't the men, right? These are the boys of the league. These are 50% of these players are not going to be in the NHL. At least 50% of them. So, but it's a great experience for him, and it's a memorable one, right? This is something that's good for him in his development. But in the end of it, I'm just kind of like, it doesn't really matter to me as a fan, and to me in the thoughts of what he's going to bring to the NHL. So this isn't a measuring stick. This isn't anything more than a good development camp for him to go and have fun at. Right.
I think as long-suffering Canuck fans, we get overly. I've personally got overexcited about junior players and draft picks and whatnot because we've had so little to hang our hats on with team success, franchise success. So I've been just as guilty as pumping the tires of anyone that's come out through the juniors had success or draft picks or European players or whatnot. But because the name Brent Tully ring a bell as the captain of the World Juniors back in 92, 93. He never even played an NHL game. He got stuck in the minors and, I was looking through the list of all the Canuck junior players and, we've had some great ones with Bure and whatnot, and the success they've had there. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Unless there's a massive separation where he is completely dominating the World Juniors or any players dominating, that's when you can get excited. You're like, oh man, because remember Thomas Chabot, I drafted him in my long-term hockey pool and he was available like a defenseman, and all of a sudden he did really well at the World Juniors. And I was looking through my list, like, who's got Chabot? I'm going to have to draft him. Like, oh, I have him. But he did great, as he was like the quarterback for the power play, and then goes to Ottawa and has great rookie success. And I'm like, all right, that's a win, right? But that doesn't always happen, right? So not always a given. If you have success at the World Juniors, it translates to the big to the show. All right, next headline. Oh, and Truscott, though, in my mind, he looks pretty rangy. He looks pretty tall. So he looks more like a Chris Pronger body type. I'm not going to say he's going to be like Chris Pronger, but they're referencing Edler. But I think Edler's pretty tall too, but he looks a little more rangy than Edler does. Big, looks like he can skate pretty good and he's got a decent shot. So who knows? We'll see. All right, next headline I got here is Kesler. Ryan Kesler is the latest alum to show interest in retiring as a Canuck, courtesy of the Daily Hive. I couldn't find the tweet, but you were the detective on this one and you found it on Instagram. So there was a conversation between somebody and Ryan Kesler talking about this, and Kessler's reply was, it goes call the Canucks. So what's your thoughts on Kesler retiring as a Canuck?
I don't know. I'm of two minds of it. So one, we got enough, jerseys in the rafters. We got enough names on the ring, ring around the arena. We don't have enough names on the cup. I don't think it really matters to me if he comes and retires as a Canuck. I enjoyed him as a player. He was a dominant force in 2011. What team was that? Nashville?
Yep.
In the Nashville series?
Series,
where
yeah.
he basically he just carried like the entire Canucks. Like they only won that series because of him,
right?
And how he played. So I mean, would it be kind of cool that he retired? Like I said, I'm of two minds. I'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't frown upon it. I never got rid of my Kesler jersey, so perhaps I'd be able to throw that back on without worrying about getting eggs thrown at me or something. But ultimately, I mean, it's hanging with my Messier jersey. But ultimately, but ultimately, it doesn't really matter to me. Like I honestly, I don't care either way. If they retire if he retires as a Canuck, yay. If he doesn't, he was with the Ducks for quite a while, so it doesn't really matter to me either way.
Yeah, I'd love it. I think that would be good. I loved Kesler, I think, as much as everyone, and then didn't hate on him as much as some did. Definitely in Canuck Nation when he wanted out. I think everyone was still heartbroken over the 2011 failure there, myself included, obviously. But yeah, again, as long-suffering Canuck fans, we hang on to every little piece that we can get because he's not going to the Hockey Hall of Fame. But someone like Luongo, when he had the opportunity to, and I don't know if this would have saved the recapture penalty because there was all that chatter about him signing a one-day contract to retire as a Canuck that might have saved the recapture penalty against us. And so that kind of for me, it was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, sure, I'd love it. I mean, for me, retiree's number, obviously not, but Ring of Honor, I think that all of the 2011 team, well, the standouts anyways are possibilities for the Ring of Honor in my mind. Burrows, Kesler, I mean, Henrik and Daniel go up in the rafters. Luongo, yeah, I don't know. I think that they're all, you can kind of pick and choose on that team what you wanted to do. They could even go in as a team, right? Hamius?
Yeah, Hamius. He was like one of our key defense.
Oh, he was amazing. I've often thought about his first couple seasons of play and never saw that guy make a mistake. It was incredible, but he wasn't here very long. So, and I guess maybe Kessler was, but we drafted him as well. And there's a difference because there was I remember, who was that wanted to sign Kesler on the, when his first deal came up, or one of his deals, was it Philadelphia or I can't remember. Anyways, I remember.
It was back east.
Yeah. So I remember a coworker at the time, he's like, hey, would you sign Kesler? I was like, I'd let him go. And it always burned in my mind. And then just kept getting better and better and better. Then he had his 40-goal season. I'm like, holy crap. That would have been horrible to have let him go. It seemed like big money at the time, and he hadn't really done anything, but it was just the way the contracts are going at the time. Anyways, I think that I would love to see him do the one day. I think he would get a big ovation at the arena, much like, when Bertuzzi came back for, what was that game again? I can't remember if we talked about it yesterday. What was the event there when he came back?
I think that was, what was that? I was going to say it was a Sedin's last game, but it wasn't. It was
something else. Anyway, but he got a huge ovation. No. My brother even, mentions like goes, yeah, I can't. He goes. I forgot how much I missed Bertuzzi, and then seeing him in a Canucks uniform, brought back a wash of emotions for that. So, anyways, for me, big thumbs up. I would say yes, bring him back for a day. Next headline we've got here is Canucks fans agree Pavel Bure would dominate today's NHL, and that's courtesy of Vancouver's Awesome. What's your thoughts on that headline?
I don't know. I don't think dominate is quite the word there, because when you think about dominating the NHL, you're thinking about McDavid, you're thinking about McKinnon, you're thinking about Paul. How come they all start with M? We need an M guy on our team.
MC, McDavid and McKinnon. MAC.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, and even players like Adam Fox, right? Like, I know he's on the defense, but he still sort of dominates play. But I don't think Bure would have been on that same level. Like I kind of see him like a step below those guys. Like, a very good player. He wouldn't have been the fastest in the league.
No, not now. Not in today's game. Not in today's game.
Exactly, and you got to remember, like when the style. So you got to remember three things. So one, the style of goalie. So the play of the goalie was massively different from what it is now, right? And there was a lot more net to shoot at, especially if you're quick.
Yeah.
Now it's all positioning and angles and shutdown. Like I don't think he would have gotten half those goals
right.
that he got back then. The other thing is everyone in the league is now better. They don't have, with all due respect, the Gino Olchucks anymore, really.
Yep.
Even the tough guys, like look at Wilson. Wilson is probably one of the dirtiest, toughest players out there, but he can still get 30. Like it's not like he's just out there to kick the crap out of people. He's got some mitts. He can put it in the net.
Right.
And I don't think there was as much of a challenge for Bure back then. And I think if he played now, he would have been shut down a lot more, a lot quicker. Yeah. And I think people would have adapted and learned how he plays and shut him down. So I don't know if he would dominate. I don't agree with that. I don't think it would have been a dominating force. I think he would have been a good player. I think he would have had to pair him up with another good player to get some quality out of them. But yeah, on his own, he is not a McDavid. He's not a McKinnon. I don't think he would have been at that level. And that's my opinion on it.
And I agree. I think that, you have to also think, as you're talking, you reminded me of at the time, the fifth and sixth defensemen on each team were slugs. They generally could barely hang on, right? Now the fifth and sixth defensemen, they can play. They're all better athletes. The game has changed. When if he on a good line change, if he was out there against the third pairing, he'd eat them alive, with a little cut, a little crisscross, and then a stutter step and a shot. He was putting a lot in that way, right? Opening the goalie up a little bit. And, the butterfly goalie was kind of just starting to really take off at that point, right? I believe. Because you still had the hybrids with the McLeans, and for some reason, John Casey popped in my head, like the smaller goalies. And there was a couple of goalies he just made fools of all the time. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he would dominate. I hate to say it, part of the Canuck Nation and Canuck fan base, but typical, the Bure would dominate. But it's the rose-colored glasses. It's the memories are always a lot more. What's the right word? They're a lot more. I can't think of the word. They're trumped up more in their head. Yeah, I would say rose-colored glasses, but yeah, definitely more trumped up in their head as him dominating. So this is EA hockey, for crying out loud. So, all right, next headline. There's the radio deal. Canucks preparing to give Sportsnet 650 the boot. It's courtesy of the Daily Hive. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow. Is it a sad time for sports radio in Vancouver if that's the case? Because does Sportsnet keep 650 going if they've lost that contract?
Right.
And all that talent, from everyone that we see in the front, to the many, many amazing people in the back making all the magic happen. Right. And like even, Batch was telling me once about how, he's got his earpiece in and he's doing the talking and his producers, blah, 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 in his ear with all the stats and with all the stuff. And, this is such and such and that. And he's able just to keep talking while he's registering that information and then spit it out as he's talking.
Yeah.
And he goes,
crazy.
And he goes, it's the only way he can do that is because of the way the producer is actually presenting the information. So it's not interrupting his flow. The information's just coming to him at like almost at his pace, and in a way that it just joins in with what he's talking about. It's not overbearing. It's not
Just
taking
disruptive.
over.
Disruptive.
Exactly, it's not disruptive.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talent in the backside too that we don't know about, that we don't see. That now my question is, what's going to happen to them? And if the Canucks don't sign with Sportsnet, there's only one option left. That's to do it in-house.
Right.
And I don't know if they've contemplated how much or how expensive setting up to do it in-house will be, because once you're up and running, maintaining it and doing it is yes, there's a cost to it, but it's nowhere near what they would have been losing, if you will, on advertisement deals and whatnot, that they can pick that up anyway. But that initial setup, I think, is where there's going to be a massive amount of costs. And again, that's, I don't know. I mean, you and I sort of talked about this before. It depends on what their formatting is too, right? Like, are they setting up for radio? Are they only streaming? Are they doing television casting? Like, what are they looking at doing?
Well, apparently Anaheim and San Jose have only gone streaming. So, that the precedents are starting to show up. So who knows? There's no word on it, right? So, that was the comment I saw online too, is that they said it was 64 days, now it's 63 days before puck drop, before radio kicks in. And, well, it must be the start of the season, because I think training camp's 7 weeks away. So it's only 42 days or so. But it's a good point. And, when we talked about this yesterday a little bit, that caught me off guard about what's the future of the Vancouver radio station then, if they don't, as the major product that they're delivering. So, what's the future of sports radio then? Because, already we're getting Sportsnet national broadcast with Jeff Merrick replacing some of the programming already.
There's maybe 8 hours out of 24 that's local guys doing the broadcast.
Yeah, and that's going to be frustrating. I still have friends in media, and that's going to be frustrating for them. Like, they should have all these resources. And I know they're talking to some friends that were at the radio there. They said, you should be doing this, you should do that on the social media site. Goes, honestly, that's, we don't have enough people for them. That caught me off guard. I was very surprised to hear that. But, coming from TV and stuff like that, they've been cutting every year, slash budgets and people and jobs and, people's livelihoods. And I've watched friends, that were and myself included, and when Sportsnet got the NHL deal, they started consolidating jobs, and a few people lost jobs, and so it's a cruel business, and it's part of the evolution of the times, the digital age, but still, good points by you for I didn't think about the radio station, the actual station itself, as far as what that actually would mean for it. So. Yeah, interesting, super interesting. Because those guys, the talented ones will find work.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be. I mean, even the talented guys are still. There's going to be that transition, right? Like, very few of them are going to be picked up the next day,
right?
And a lot of them may have to actually leave the Lower Mainland if they want to continue doing what they love doing.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's move on to the next headline. The Sedins, Kevin Bieksa revealed the Sedin twins used to switch jerseys and trick linesmen. That's courtesy of Washington Hockey Now. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's awesome.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's awesome too. I'm like, I love it. I can totally picture them doing that. Like, they seem to be like those type of twins that would, like, switch classes just because, right? Or switch, during the intermission, switch jerseys and then go back out there and have some fun or whatever. But I was actually at a live game, and I was watching the game, and I mean, I don't know if this is sort of not along the same lines, but sort of is. But Daniel got waved out, And so Daniel skated over to the wing with Henrik, and they sort of did this like weird little half circle around each other while they're talking. And then Daniel came back to the drop dot. And he lines up, and the linesman drops the puck. And I'm sitting there going, I swear that was like he got thrown. Like I saw it. He got thrown, but that's Daniel taking the faceoff still. So it was kind of funny. Like they, it doesn't surprise me that they're pulling that sort of stuff. I wonder to what degree they were doing it. Because they're still with the Canucks, I don't think we'll ever hear those stories. Not till they're sort of done. But I bet you there's some, like, we got to get them on just to talk that,
Hey, that'll be a dream day. That'll be an awesome day if that happens. Like the article referenced that they would do it in preseason games, all-star games. They would switch jerseys as well, just for fun. And they, started when they were in minor hockey into the pros. I mean, one's a center, one's a winger, one's taller than the other. I have identical twin aunts, and so I'm used to looking for the super subtleties of that. So I can tell them apart, even though
Right.
never spent a lot of time close to them ever. But I can, from looking at their photos from working on the TV station stuff, and like, oh yeah, I can see the difference here. But do you think they ever switch jerseys in a game? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I don't know. I would love to think. I mean, there'd have to be a reason for it. I think, right? Because what would be the point of doing that if it doesn't get them an edge?
Sure.
Right, during a real game, because I don't think it makes sense to do that in a real game where where actual points matter and you're trying to win the game, unless something comes up. Daniel gets a 10-minute misconduct, and Henrik's like, you know what? No, we need you out there, right? And so they swap jerseys, and Daniel comes out, and Henrik's bench, right? I'm making that. I like. How would you even pick which Sedin would matter more, too, right? So
yeah.
So, but no, I'd love to be a fly on the wall with some of their conversations and actually find out what they've done around being twins.
Yeah. I think that maybe early in their careers, when they were still struggling under and getting their feet under them as far as ice time with Crawford and power play time, that maybe they would have tried it. I don't think later on in their careers they would have tried that. I just don't. Like you said, what's the reason? They would have to have had a good reason for it. So, pretty funny. It'll be interesting to hear them tell their tales at some point. So, next thing we want to talk about is a segment you want to talk about is Boudreau's first training camp as head coach.
Yes. So this is something that I'm actually very excited about because I don't know if you've sort of checked the background on Boudreau's training camps previously, but when he was with the Wild and when he was with the Ducks, the one thing that was pretty much universal from all the players was it was the most grueling and brutal training camp that they'd ever done. And to hear Bruce be interviewed, especially when he was with the Wild, when he first pulled in with the Wild, he is very tough on his guys. And he's tough right out of the gate. He wants to see who's conditioned. He wants to see who's got the effort and putting in for it, right? He wants to expose those that aren't in shape and whip them into shape. One thing that Bruce had said in an interview was that he really likes or wants to make quick cuts. So he wants to get his team in order and training together in the training camp as quickly as possible. So he makes quick cuts. So, what players that haven't been to a training camp yet, or maybe have only been to one or two, right? Are going to come in there and we'll see what they do. Because are they ready for this?
Right.
So I think greens were pretty pretty harsh too, apparently.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I mean, like for Bruce. Oh my God, I'm tripping on his last name.
Boudreau.
Thank you, Boudreau. So he doesn't do allegedly doesn't do scrimmages, and
That's crazy.
He's not. Yeah, he's not there for like fun times type thing. Like it's grueling, working out. Show me what you got, and let me make my cuts quickly so that now we can work on what's important. And I think that's what the meat of what we are going to see is. We'll see those quick cuts. We're going to see them working on another thing that he did with the Wild was, and there's sort of similarities in the two teams, the Wild and the Canucks, or the Wild back then and the Canucks now. They can move the puck, but they have trouble getting through the neutral zone. And one thing that he did with the Wild was that he actually created a system where they're just developing the ability to get through that neutral zone with control of the puck. And that was one of the focuses in training camp. Working on the team dynamics, working on like I said, the neutral zone control and the entry into the with control into the attacking zone. So I think those are things we're going to see, and definitely we're going to see his flavor on the PK and the PP, because those are two areas that you need to be functioning to go to the cup, and B, are not functioning anywhere near where they should be for us. So I think those are things that we're going to look at. Overall, I think this is going to be a hard camp. He's going to be pushing players to be better. I think he's going to be solidifying his plans for improvements on the team and where the direction is. And this is his show me year. He's only got a 2-year contract.
Right.
And he's really got to get out of the gate fast this one and keep that, Bruce, there it is, chance going, because he doesn't have a lot of time, and he's got to work quick, and he's got to put something together here. So I love him. I really hope that he does well. I expect that he will, because he is a player's coach. He's got a lot of experience. He understands the game, and I think that I think they responded well to him, and there's respect there. So I'm very excited to see what he brings, and to see actually how hard the players are pushed during training camp.
Yeah, it's funny because I spend a little bit of time listening to the other chatter about the other teams, and I've never heard that about Boudreau. And then the only thing I ever really knew about him past him being a coach was that I was surprised to find out that he was actually a player. He played for the Leafs and was an offensive player. So your comment about Green's camps previously, because I think you remember the first couple of years with Green, he pushed his like, we're going to be fast, we're going to be fast in the puck, fast, and they were for 2 years. And then I think where he started falling apart was he didn't have that team speed as the driving force for his primary focus the next season. And so I don't know. I think it fell apart for him in a couple different areas, but that's a topic for another day. But hey, I didn't know much about Boudreau, and I mean, obviously the players responded. I mean, what an incredible season! If he was there from day one, I mean, it's a pretty impossible pace to have kept up from when he arrived. But holy smokes, we missed the playoffs by a handful of games, like incredible, right? And this team, you never know. They always say, you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. I mean, you still had to beat Colorado at that point, but they could have done some damage. I think, any team that goes into the playoffs on a hot streak is definitely needs to be, be wary of. Hot streaks going into the playoffs are deadly for teams, I guess, especially teams that are coasting. But that's cool. That's interesting points. I mean, obviously we're 6-7 weeks away from preseason, and so we'll see. But really interesting. Good comments there. That's all I've got for this week. So anything else you want to talk about while we wrap things up here?
No, not really. I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, cool.
I can't remember if we brought up anything else on our first take.
On take one of episode 2. Yeah, no, I think we covered it all here. So, cool. Well, another good chit chat, and we'll talk to you next week then.
Yeah, you bet, man. It's good talking to you. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later.
All right.